Hi, it's Garth,
JC Link here.
and we're here for the start of the second module. So in this little tutorial, which should go fairly quickly, we're going to give you some possible ideas for MyMaps, and then we're going to talk quite a bit about the final project and what will be graded and what needs to be submitted in this module.
So with this, just different ideas for class use, feel free to read through these and add whatever you would like to, but these could get you going for your final project. If you look there at the top for lit trips, that's a concept of just following a path through a story. Personally, for my social studies class, I did a collaboration with the ELA about A Long Walk to Water. The story is about a young man, a refugee from South Sudan, Africa, and his journey to America. So I just had students summarize each chapter in like a sentence or two, and then we would plot it and use a picture to remind them what happened in that chapter.
That's a great one. You know, if you think about science, we thought two of these were kind of interesting, maybe tracking the migration patterns of different animals, or looking at plate tectonics and being able to highlight plate tectonics or volcanoes or whatever it may be you're studying. Yeah. Even chemicals, elements, right? Where are these found if you're doing a chemistry class? Right. So there's kind of a little bit of everything.
For science, too, that's a wide variety of ages. You know, if you want to show migration or teaching that, that's probably a second or third grade level, but that could easily be used there as well.
Yeah, and then we got into like math a little bit more trickier, and then we started talking a little bit about art or art history or any of those classes. So I think every class can probably find a way to use this, although I'll be honest, the math was the hardest one for me to think about. Right. But that kind of gives you a little bit of an overview of what you potentially could be thinking about, but you know your content best, so we'll leave that up to you to be the expert in your content and to figure out how to use MyMaps. So we also had some student examples. This would be an individual topic example. So actually, I've got them already loaded. I'm just going to pull them up. So this was a particular example that a kid did. And we see some custom icons. We see some blobs. We see different lines. We see shaded regions. And we see icons on it. So this was about Mansa Musa's Hajj. So this is created by a student. It's kind of describing the Hajj that he went on. Each one of these icons tells a little bit about where he traveled and how many people were with him and what was going on. So they're kind of telling his story visually through a MyMap. You'll notice there's only, in this case, he's got 5 pictures, although, we're just kind of seeing what the scenery would look like. But that gives you an idea of a individual topic. Here's one topic on a MyMap, what you might look like. This is the second example we're going to talk about, and this is what both JC and I combined to do over the years. So this student is now an 8th grader. She started in JC's class. You want to talk a little bit about that, and I'll turn some of this off.
Yeah, in 6th grade, I think at this point I just used it for review of my air test. So the year in review, I didn't do it gradually throughout the year. I gave them all the topics. It's a little sparse right here, but just visually, that went through, you could see the Silk Road, the ancient civilizations, so that was just a brief overview of the whole year. You can do it as she basically made her own study guide using the MyMaps. Now it's a little bit more in depth, adding more to it. After we do a unit, I use it as unit reviews or topic reviews. That way they just add what they took out of that unit and what they remember most.
One thing we do when they got to my class in 7th grade is we started doing some stuff with this day in history. So a few icons appear if we did a special thing on this day in history. But as they got to 7th grade, then it populates a lot. Now, part of this was this particular example. She went back and did some of the 6th grade stuff because we just really started this idea of the electronic portfolio. So she didn't have everything that they did in 6th grade. You will see that it's custom icons, so you can start to see. And now you see, this year we added the Hajj right into this. We didn't leave it as an individual map. We built it into what we were doing. But if I see the skull and crossbones, that immediately makes me think of
Black Death.
Right. So when we click on it, there's your Black Death story. And she gives us some key ideas. She used video. It must be some of these things are not appearing in the way we're using them. But she's got a link to a slideshow she made. So you can get more detailed information. So she's linking her own work back to her project. I think you would see that whatever we do. If we go on, then as the year progressed and we started looking at exploration, the kids did one on exploration. they linked their Google slideshow. So in this, they worked in groups and they completed a large Google slideshow where you can see extreme detail in each explorer. So they're linking information together. This is her map, but she worked as a group to get the information for all that you just saw appear, all the flags, all the lines. Each line represents a different explorer. And then the last part was they added colonization, where they shaded the regions and showed. The map really becomes interactive now, where we can start deleting some things, right? We can take things away, and you can start to talk about a specific topic that they have learned about. So in this case, they get to the high school, and they start the year with colonization. There it is. And the arrow explains the Columbian Exchange and what was traded. And again, this is where we tried to show you in tutorial 2. Each part of the line represents a different part. Here's what's coming to the new world, right? Here's what's going to the old world. And then here in the line itself becomes what is the Columbian Exchange. So she explains that piece. So you look at the MyMap this way. Another thing, they had a little video, so they've got a YouTube or a screencast video built in reflecting on their experience with MyMaps. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, you could add anything. One topic I did, I made them do a video in 6th grade and then post it on their MyMaps. And Garth, being the 7th grade teacher, to review, I think it was the 5 pillars of Islam. So I made the students shoot a video and say, "Hi, 7th grade me, this is 6th grade me, and I'm going to teach you about the 5, or refresh your brain about the 5 pillars of Islam." So they really got a kick out of that too, seeing themselves a year later, and it also recalled the information much quicker than looking it up or reading it out of a textbook.
Last thing I'll say about this, we call this an electronic portfolio because at the end of the 8th grade year, it summarizes virtually everything they learned in 3 years of social studies. I will say that our 9th grade staff has begun to use this map to reflect back on what they learned and how it impacts the second half of our courses. So there is the potential of this becoming much more than a standalone product where kids are building 1 or 2 things. So that'll take us to our final project, and this is also in your Blackboard to go over it, but we're going to simply walk you through it. You want to start?
Yeah. So first thing we want you to do is just create a simple lesson plan, I guess whatever you would do for your classroom. That way it's already made and you're ready to go next school year, hopefully. But take a link to that lesson plan, and we want you to drop a pin in Greenland so we can just find it quickly. It's kind of out of the way, whatever you choose, icon or anything. But just in that pin, make sure we can view your lesson plan.
So we would prefer that to be a Google Doc, but if you can't do that or you need to use something else, that is fine. Just make sure we have access to see the lesson plan. Second thing we're going to look for in your final MyMap is at least 5 content pins, so pins that you think are important that you create. We're going to look for images, videos, and notes in them. We want those to be custom icons. Okay, again, if you want to put 10 images in, that's fine. We tell our kids a minimum of 2 and 1 video. So we'll kind of be looking for at least 2 images and 1 video.
Mm-hmm. So whatever topic you just decide to do this on, add at least 2 lines. Whatever color you would like. It's easier, or they stand out better if you make them a little larger in size, and then add some notes on there, whatever your line is explaining. But if you would like to include images or a video on that, that would be extra. You could see there's a student example that we just showed you, how the lines work, and you can add the same things to the lines as you can the pins.
We want you to shade at least 1 region with a color border. You can add more detail if you want. Let me add a little comment about these notes too. The notes don't have to be content notes. They could be questions that you're asking the kids if they're using the MyMap. So don't think they have to build a MyMap. Maybe your first experience is you're going to have them become active with MyMap using it. So maybe you build a video and they watch the video and they look at the images and there are a series of questions as your notes. You could do it that way as well. Mm-hmm. And then last, we want you to post a link to your final MyMap in the discussion board. If it's the same MyMap you started with, that's fine. That should be there, but make sure we have a link to your final copy in the discussion board.
Hopefully you enjoyed this and find it very useful in your classroom.
Yeah, and we'd hope that even in the future, if you let us know how it works out for you in your classroom. Mm-hmm. So thank you, and we'll talk soon.
Yep.